Today's guest is someone who sits right in the intersection of everything that we talk about on this podcast. She is a certified clinical hypnotherapist, the founder of House of Impact, the co-founder of ORA, a boutique retreat in Costa Rica, and she has spent over 2 decades working with people on personal growth, purpose, and self-realization. And she has a book coming out on August 18th called Pathways to Self, which we're going to dive into today. Dana, welcome to the Unfiltered Founder.
Woo, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here with you.
Yes, I'm so excited. So I have known you for what now feels like a lifetime, which is shocking. I've been so blessed to witness this beautiful journey that you have been on. You went from running your own very successful event company with fashion shows and galas and charity fundraisers to then jumping into network marketing, which I got the privilege of meeting and connecting with you, and then becoming a clinical hypnotherapist and now founding a retreat in Costa Rica. Like, what a completely different path that you have been on. If you could just walk us through the journey of this, like how one led to the other and what got you to doing this today.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting how things unfold, because never did I ever know I was going to be living in Costa Rica, running a retreat center, even though now looking back, it all makes sense. It's like all the breadcrumbs added up. I come from a family of entrepreneurs, so I feel like that was my education at a really young age. I was interning for my dad's company, watching him do sales call from, our basement, and then watch my mom open up her own company and my brothers. And so I think that entrepreneurial spirit is very much inside of me, but I think I was always trying to find another way to get to my ultimate purpose, which for me is impact. I love giving back. I love connecting with people. I just couldn't figure out a way to make that my full-time career. So I found all these different ways, from event production to network marketing, to now where I feel like I actually do get to live my purpose every single day.
So you have described your work as basically like helping people disentangle from what is not truly theirs, and like the roles that they play, the beliefs that they repeat, the patterns that they're living inside of. So what does that actually mean, and how do most people not even realize that they're doing it? So if you can give us an example of what that looks like in someone's life, like the patterns someone thought maybe like who they were that turned out to be something that they inherited.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So one of my favorite quotes is, "It's not about becoming anything. It's about unbecoming everything we are not." And so, yeah, it's a big one, because I think, when I started to study the mind as a hypnotherapist, and I went into a really deep dive of the mind and understanding limiting beliefs, and the facts are out there. We have over 50,000 thoughts a day. Over 95% of them are repetitive. And a lot of the things that happen to us that determine who we are not the big things that happen later in life, like the big T traumas. They're little D traumas. They happen between the ages of 2 and 8, when, we're coming into the world feeling like we're a spark of joy and everything is possible for us. And then, society comes in and parents come in with their thoughts and beliefs and opinions, and our culture comes in with thoughts, beliefs, and opinions, and we start to build an identity or a role. So the path towards disentanglement for everyone is going to be different. It's that spark of awareness that happens when we start to say, there must be more out there for me, or we start to disconnect from the thoughts that are in our mind and who we are. So I can play a little exercise with you if it's helpful, and I've been taught this before. So it's not mine. Most of what I say is not mine. It's things I've read and experienced for myself to be true. But we can take a moment to just be quiet and whisper something in our mind, like any words, say anything in your mind, and you just whisper it. And then you can take another moment and you can take that same word and you can yell it at the top of your mind. Just yell it as loud as you possibly can. And you start to notice that you are not the one who is whispering, and you are not the one who is yelling. You are actually the awareness behind those thoughts. So when you ask, how do you get there? That is, you start to create small moments of awareness when you disentangle from the voice in the head and the truth of who we are.
I feel like we can go so much deeper with that. Like, there's just, because people are just so, like, for me, especially like when you started teaching me this stuff and I started doing the work with you, like it's a lot.
And it's forever. It's not like you arrive one day and you're like, I am awakened. It's like another layer, another peel of the onion. I think some of my favorite teachers are the ones that are so humbled by this growth experience that they're like, I'm not perfect. I'm just a human being trying to figure my stuff out like everybody else.
Absolutely. Oh, so to go a little bit deeper into it, so you have experience and like from reading your book, which I'm not finished yet, but I'm loving it. And I see so much of like my patterns that I hear from your stories. So you've experienced past lives through hypnotherapy and meditation, and you really dive into this in your book. So buy the book. So I want to talk about this because I know a lot of people have no idea what we're talking about and what's even possible with doing these practices. And with doing the session with you as well, I was so blown away because you got me into it. Like you showed me what was possible with hypnotherapy and the memories that surfaced for me, which was mind blowing. So if you could tell us a little bit of what happened for you and how it changed the way that you see yourself and your life and what it was like to like sit in that experience. And did any part of you like resist it or question if it was even real?
Yeah. So to start with the end of your question, every part of me questioned of whether or not it's real and continues to question whether or not it's real. And, a lot of times when clients come to me in hypnotherapy and they say, I don't know, they say it in the session, I don't know if I remember that from a picture or if it's something that actually happened to me. And my answer is always the same. It doesn't matter. If these pretend experiences are made up. If you are the best, let me say that again, if you are the best director that ever existed and you are making it all up, a full scene with past life memories and a death scene and all of these aha moments and spiritual lessons, then great. I'm okay with the mind making it up. But for me, when this entered my life, it was almost 20 years ago. I was so far away from this world. I was, working downtown Toronto. I had my own event production company. I was working 100-hour weeks, hustling my bum off, and getting things done. And when my friend asked me if she could practice on me, I went in there just completely open. Like, let's see what happens. And it blew my mind. Similar to what happened to you, I couldn't believe the depth of my experience. And really, it was in the coming out of that experience where I, for the first time in my life, got to connect to what some would call unconditional love, meaning I am not this body. I am not my achievements. I am not my roles that I play. I am that I am. I am connected, and it's pure expression of love or God or whatever it is that you believe in. Right. And so for me, it totally changed my life. And never did I ever think I was going to become a practicing hypnotherapist one day. It couldn't have been further from my truth. It's just how life sort of evolved. And that's a longer story.
And have you noticed that a lot of people have had that same realization after doing some sessions?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest difference between hypnotherapy and past life regression is in hypnotherapy, it's actually, in my opinion, quite clinical. You get into a calm state of the nervous system, that place right before you fall asleep. And in that state, you have access to the 95%, which is the subconscious mind. And that stores all of your beliefs and memories. And, when you go into that and you ask the mind directly, what is at the root cause of this experience? What is at the root cause of me feeling unworthy or of my anxiety? Whatever question you have for your mind, you're able to start going back and seeing that you created these habits and these experiences and these reactions at a much younger age. And when you review these scenes from this lifetime and see, I was 8 years old when someone told me that, gosh, I couldn't sing. And now I'm terrified of singing in front of everybody. This is a true story, actually. Now I would never sing in public. It's like my worst nightmare. But I was 8 years old when I made that decision, right? And so it's much easier to let it go if there's a desire. I don't need to sing in public, luckily. If it was something that was affecting my life, then I could say, hey, at 8, I made a decision that I can't sing and that everybody's going to make fun of me if I open my mouth, and boom, there's a decision. I'm never singing again. And I'm actually not going to express myself again in the same way. But when you see it, you can undo it. When you realize why you did that, you can have a different conversation with yourself. Does that make sense?
Absolutely. Yeah. So to dive a little more into that, because I feel like someone could take away from like business perspective, and I don't know if the voice is something that also came up for you with your business, like maybe it was speaking up, or was there something else when you did hypnotherapy where you're like, wow, this is something from my childhood that prevented me from excelling in my career?
For sure. There are five in hypnotherapy school. We learned that there are five main limiting beliefs, and they all affect business in one way or another. I'm not worthy, meaning I'm not worthy of the success that I desire. I'm not enough, meaning I have to hustle and do more to achieve what I want, and it's never going to happen for me. I'm different, or I don't belong. Those sort of go hand in hand. And as an immigrant to Canada, that's definitely something that I carried, that feeling of no one's ever going to understand me. And then the biggest thing, which is what I want, is not available to me. I would
Wow.
say that is one of when it comes to business, I think that is one of the biggest self-limiting beliefs that, we believe that what we actually want, it's not possible for us like it's possible for other people over there. They're different than us. While I would say something that I'm really lucky for having an entrepreneurial dad is, that was an immigrant that learned English while he was building a business, was that he would always say, why not you? In the back of my mind, I also had, as much as I didn't feel enough and I felt different and like what I want wasn't available, I also had my dad's voice luckily saying, why not you? In the back of my head. And so for sure, I still had to untangle the other limiting beliefs. It's still something I do now. Like, I'm writing this book, and it's a super vulnerable teaching memoir, what we call. And there is a part of me that's like still super scared of being disliked. Like, I know a lot of people are going to love it, and I know I'm going to get a lot of hate. I know, that being so on social media, you get all the sides of it. But, in this case, I can still see it popping up, and I have to, remind myself I'm perfect, whole, and complete. And, the universe is guiding me as it should. And I wouldn't have had the book in my mind if it wasn't meant to be published, et cetera, et cetera.
Yeah. And not everyone's meant to be in our worlds.
Isn't that the truth? The message that I keep learning on repeat, it feels.
We don't need everyone.
It turns out, I couldn't agree more.
But I do agree. Everyone needs hypnotherapy, and it's not hypnotherapy because every time I recommend it to somebody, they're like, oh, it's like when they make you act like a chicken on stage. I'm like, I've never seen that. I've never witnessed it. I would love to, but that's definitely not what I was experiencing when you put me under.
Yeah. And it's show hypnotherapy. And I think one of the biggest fears that people have is that they're going to be out of control. And my experience is that you actually have a bigger sense of control when you're in that deep state.
Which is more scary.
Yeah, you actually know more. You go deeper. You actually go into hypnosis many times throughout your day. When you're driving, for example, and you get somewhere without really knowing, like that's actually a state of hypnosis because your mind is just that you're in your subconscious mind. It's just doing things automatically, right? And so, it's constantly as you're falling asleep, you're going into that state. As you're waking up, you're in a highly suggestible state. That's why the morning routines and what you think about in the morning and before you go to bed are so, so important. So for entrepreneurs, I would say if there was one tip, pay attention to how you go to sleep, what you're reviewing before bed, and how you wake up. It's the most important part. Your brain acts like a sponge in that state. It can literally just sop that's why when we do hypnotherapy, you get a recording of my voice and I say, listen to it every day, 21 days.
I'm still listening to it.
It's funny. A lot of people know my hypno voice. They're like, I listen to you every night before going to bed. And it's somewhat not weird.
No, you brainwashed me in the best way possible.
I'll take it. Whatever that means, however that's supportive, I should say.
Okay. So one thing I've noticed with the book, because I haven't read the whole thing, but I'm so excited to finish it. But your book talks a lot about self-discipline in one of the chapters. And I want to ask you about that specifically because in self-development, in the world of like self-discipline with entrepreneurship, it often gets talked about as in a way of like hustle and grind. A quote from your book that I really picked up on was self-trust is built in the moment, self-discipline is built over time, and together they shape the person you become. And I love that. That really stood out to me. I needed to write it down. So for you, like what does self-discipline actually mean and how is it different from what most people think it is?
Yeah, so self-discipline to me is really about creating the habit so that it becomes a subconscious habit. So it's about doing it especially when you don't feel like doing it, because it's just part of your routine. I can think about that. I got into the gym the last couple of years. It's new for me to have that be a habit, but at my age and, what I was experiencing, I knew that lifting heavy was something that would really transform my mind and my body. And so I had to build a new habit. So at first it was about creating accountability around that habit, sharing that desire with other people so that I had, we're very easy to let go, to give up on ourselves. But when we tell other people, for example, we become a lot more accountable to them for that. And now it doesn't matter what happens. 4 times a week, I find myself at the gym. I don't even think about it. It's just part of my routine. So they say it takes 21 days to create a habit. And then they say that it takes 180 days to make it like a proper discipline where it's second nature. And so discipline to me is about building blocks, about doing a little bit, creating accountability, doing more, staying consistent versus constant, and creating almost like a marathon pace versus a sprint, because it's in the sprints that we lose it, in my opinion.
So for somebody that they're like, I have no idea how to, I've tried, I've fallen off a million times. Like, what's an easy way that they can start these little habits that maybe work for you?
So one thing we can know about the mind is that the mind always moves away from pain and towards pleasure. So where you are going has to be more pleasurable than your current state, or it moves away from what it really, really hates. So that's why you see people change once they hit rock bottom, right? But we don't necessarily want to hit rock bottom before we make a change. And so I'll give you an example. I've given this trick to a few people for the gym, something that I got into, and maybe I don't love saying this on a podcast, but I got into listening to fantasy books on Audible. Okay.
Wow.
Now I listen to fantasy books on Audible at the gym. And what that does for me is that I cannot wait to get to the gym. I cannot wait because it's my day to listen to an hour and a half, and I'm walking around and I'm like so into this book. And so that is one way that it's made it so easy for me not to skip my gym dates. Right. And so making it enjoyable. So your morning routine should be the best part of your day. The way you wind down, light the incense, give yourself a bath, shower yourself with affirmations, share it with someone you love. So creating habits with somebody is so much, way more likely to create that discipline. If again, you have that accountability, if you have that shared joy and doing it together. So again, remembering that your mind will always move towards joy. The question then becomes, how can I make this as uncomfortable as it is? Because change is uncomfortable. It's like growing a muscle, truly. It's how do I make this as enjoyable as it possibly can be so that my mind is pulled forward versus the have to. I have to do a morning routine. I have to do an evening routine. I have to go to the gym. Your mind is going to wait until it's over, and it's going to always fall off the horse, if you will, right? It's always going to be falling off and not wanting to do it.
Yeah, no, I love that. And for myself, like to add to that, atomic habits, like the habit stacking is what I live for. So adding something that you're already doing that you love, and like adding the pain that you are struggling with, and like doing them together, doing something just to make it a habit.
Yeah. And then it's so much easier to maintain. And I think the other part of it is knowing that when you fall off the horse, you are going to fall off the horse. Like there's no way you won't. It's a matter of how quickly you get back on. So that's part of the marathon. It's not like you're going to, you're going to slow down. It's going to be slowing down forever. You're going to need some breaks some of the times. I've gotten sick. I've had, my dog passed away. All of those things happened that stopped the habit. Right. And with full compassion, I, got back on the horse again and again and again. So that's also part of it.
Yeah. No, I love that. Except, yeah.
Yeah, I know. You're your dog mom yourself. I know. You're like, oh, don't mean to bring that up, but it's just so.
No, it's life. It's life. And it's okay to taking care of yourself first. Absolutely. And not being hard on yourself.
Absolutely.
Okay. You talk about the 9 steps. Let's get a little bit into your book without walking us through all 9, or unless you want to. But what is the one step that most people skip or rush past that ends up costing them the most?
Ooh, I would probably say, so we start with self-awareness. I think no one would even be talking about it if you didn't have this spark of self-awareness. Like you wouldn't even be listening to this conversation if there wasn't a part of you that was like, there's something else out there for me. It moves into self-trust and self-discipline, which we've sort of covered just, a little bit now. But I would say the step that maybe is missing specifically for entrepreneurs is the next step, which is selfishness. I call it being
Oh,
selfish, or self-full is another way to say it, because I think it's the shadow side of leadership, right? The shadow side of leadership is that there usually is an element of not feeling enough, or, hustling hard, or, working, until we drop, or I sleep when I'm dead. All of those kind of things we've heard entrepreneurs say. And my experience has been that I cannot truly give from an empty cup, that I have to put my own oxygen mask on first, that is the only way to, and part of that is self-trust. It's trusting that if I give to myself, then I have more capacity to give to others. And so I would say selfishness to an extent, but not from a place of, having a horrible impact on another. That's not what I mean by, it's not in spite of somebody. It's really about making sure that we're living in reciprocal experiences with our environment and the people around us, and our businesses as well.
and if you want to learn more, you have to buy the book.
Yes, August 18th, it's coming out for the world to read.
Yes, I'm so excited to finish it. It's been amazing so far. And what I love that there's exercises that you can go and implement each one at the end of each chapter.
That was probably one of the hardest part, is deciding which ones, because each concept for me has so many exercises that we can go through, and so many books that have supported me in my journey. I love to read. So I already have a whole book in my mind, the follow-up book. So let's see how this one goes.
So you've worked with a ton of people, I'm assuming, with self-realization and purposeful living. So what is the most common thing that is actually in the way, like the thing that's underneath what most people are thinking that their problem is? And when someone realizes that, what does that moment look like? Like, what's the shift that they have?
Yeah.
Sorry, I hope that makes sense.
Yeah, it's like it's something about self. It's about trust. It's about taking our hands off the wheel in a way, and trusting, and really listening to ourselves. I think we all do this. We all get stuck in the have tos, or the shoulds. I have to, or I should feel a certain way. I know for me, it all collapsed really when I had so many shoulds in my life and so many have tos. And I think it was Jim Carrey that said, "I wish everyone could be a millionaire so they understand that's not the answer." And I did. I was at the top of my game. I know you were around for that. You really, were part of my life at the time where I really felt at the top of my game. I was winning awards and I was making amazing money and all these things. And I was so unhappy. And it was like, I remember looking at myself and saying for the 15th time in my life, there has to be something else out there for me. There has to be another way to do life. And for me, the universe listened and, said, "Okay, are you ready?" And everything crumbled. Everything, the business crumbled, the friendships crumbled, the relationships, oh my God, so much changed. I lost people on rapid fire in my life, both physically and spiritually. And it was like I had to just sit in it for a prolonged period of time and be patient. And on the other side, they say we can't connect the dots looking forward. We can only connect them looking backward. Did teach me how to be with uncomfortable and dark emotions, as opposed to constantly chasing the positive, and learning how to be in the darkness. A great book, The Dark Side of the Light Chasers, for anybody who hasn't read it, I recommend. It's like you can only experience happiness to the degree in which you can experience your pain. It's Mama Gina, one of my mentors, used to say, you have to learn how to push every key on the 88 keys of the piano. And so that, I guess I've sort of gone in a bit of a loop and I fully forget the original question, but that's where I got to with it.
No, I think that message is so important. I mean, mine is not compared. To give a small example, I have been talking about doing this podcast for years. I have been dying to do it. I've had fear hold me back, and it was this big goal that I was going to accomplish. And then I launched it and I was like, what? Okay, now what? Now what? What's next? And I didn't even appreciate and sit in the gratitude of what I just worked so hard to build. And unless you actually are enjoying the journey and the process of it, you will never feel fulfilled, is what I'm starting to realize. I'm your journey is way more important than this big end goal you're trying to achieve. So it can get dark, right? When you're constantly trying to strive for something and it's never enough. I don't know. That's
Other
just,
side of exactly. It's like that big, I'm never enough. It's never enough. And it's actually like the small things that make life worth living. It is, when I do gratitude lists, it's not the big stuff. The big stuff comes and goes. Our goal is to be like a tree anchored in the earth with our leaves flowing around in the wind. That no matter, when I have the tattoo on my arm, this too shall pass. The good, the bad, it is all passing like clouds in the sky. That is a guarantee. But up to our state, the way we can accept things, be the way we can live without attachment, right? The Buddha said that the cause of unhappiness is attachment, something like that. Yeah. So that's really our goal, is to learn how to be in the moment and, trust the rest will come and go.
yeah. And be grateful for every little thing. Celebrate all the wins. Every step is a win.
And also the depth of the darkness, like in
Yeah.
a weird way, like we can't feel love without understanding its opposite. There are theories that is why God created man in its image, right? Because it was about, anyway, you know what I'm getting at, but.
Yeah. I mean, if you only win all the time, it's going to get boring. You have to fall flat on your face to appreciate actually getting up there. So
100%. And then, I think even working with clients, some of the most difficult journeys I've witnessed are the ones that believe that they have to be happy all the time. It is the biggest misconception.
it sounds exhausting.
And it's impossible ultimately. And then you'll end up being depressed because there's that should or that I have to again, right? So, when we accept and allow our feelings to move like clouds in the sky and just witness them and appreciate them and, appreciate the depth of our feeling, everything starts to shift.
So for someone that's maybe feeling a little bit lost with their purpose or generally doesn't know what it is, like what could be like the first step, like direction, like what direction can they take if they're feeling lost or disconnected from all of that right now?
So one of the things I think is most important first is to create space in one's life. So that may mean getting quiet, but for a lot of us, we don't even know how to slow down, right? I know it took me a long time to learn how to be. I talk about that a lot in my book. Like we're not human doings, we're human beings, if you've heard that quote before. And
Yes.
so for someone who doesn't know how to be or doesn't know how to get to quiet or take space, then another way to get there is to have a whole lot of fun. And that is something that people still, me included, don't always remember how to do because we lost that as children. So I'd recommend making a menu. I called it Dana Camp. You can call it, Cat Camp. Or I called it eventually, when my dog passed away, I called it Lucy's List, which is all the things I couldn't do when she was alive that I could, in her honor do. And put everything on there that you can possibly think of that you would enjoy. Is it making a bracelet? Is it going to play pickleball? Is it, reading a book a week? Is it being outside first thing in the morning every single day? Is it giving yourself uninterrupted you time without your phone? I could go on, but make that list and make that your disciplined habit. Is like having fun. It becomes the most important part of reawakening your passion. And I believe that fun is really what points us towards our purpose, because we're not here to suffer through life. That's not what we're here for. There will be suffering. That is part of life, but that's not the only reason we're here. We're here to experience the depth and of our senses, what we're tasting and feeling and hearing and smelling and experiencing. And that's really what creates the joy of being alive.
I get nothing to add to that.
Let's have fun.
And we're done. Okay, thanks. Okay, so before we do finish up, if you want to share anything else about your book, Pathways to Self, when it's coming out, what do you want the person who reads it to walk away with? Anything you want to share?
Yeah, so Pathways to Self comes out August 18th going on Amazon. It will be followed by, I think, 38,000 retailers across North America. So Amazon will be the way you can buy it on August 18th. And my hope, really more than anything, is to feel a deeper connection with others. That is my main goal. So if this book resonates, if you see yourself in it, and that's really, the messages I've been getting from the pre-readers, and they say, oh my God, it made me think about my own experience with processing grief or my own experience with, broken relationships or whatever it is. That's what makes me be like, yeah, we are all the freaking same. We really are all the same. There is maybe a different path, but the human experience is actually more unifying than it is separating, in my opinion. So that would be my hope. And then let me know. Just send me a message so we can be in it together.
Yes. So on that note, where can people find you, follow your work, and how can they enter your world? What do you have going on?
So best way is either through my website, danashalit.com, or through Instagram or LinkedIn, which is also at Dana Shalit. So I answer all my DMs. I love being in communication. I'll be coming out with book club questions for it as well, which will launch on the 18th. And for anyone who buys on that book, they'll also be winning a chance to come visit me in Costa Rica on one of my retreats at our new retreat center here.
Amazing. And I'll put all your information in the show notes. So make sure to go give her a follow. But Dana, thank you so much. It's always lovely chatting with you, and you share so much knowledge. And I hope everyone's walking away with so much today. Thank you so much for being on the podcast.
Thank you for having me. It's such a pleasure to talk to you always.